We're live.
Okay. So I think we're at 7 o'clock, so let's get tonight's meeting rolling. And welcome everyone to our January 25th council meeting. And I'll call the meeting to order. Before we proceed to adopting the agenda, just remind if you're joining us virtually and you want to participate in either the Committee of Adjustment meeting or the public meeting with regard to the plan of subdivision in Mount Forest, please bear with us. We've got a few things to work through, and then we will get to those, and we will include you in the participation if you would wish to participate. So anyone who did inform Clerk Karen that you want to participate will be certainly brought into the meeting at the appropriate time. So please bear with us. So without further ado, we'll get on with tonight's agenda. So first thing we need to do is adopt that agenda, and I'm going to suggest that's moved by Sherry, seconded by Steve, that the agenda for the January 25th, 2020 regular meeting of council be accepted and passed. Any discussion on that from anyone? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We're on to declaration of pecuniary interest. I have no pecuniary interest on any of items on tonight's agenda to declare. We'll just go around the table. Dan?
No.
Lisa?
No.
Sherry?
No.
And Steve?
No.
Okay, thank you. I guess the next thing on our agenda is county council update, and I think I'm responsible for that tonight. So I'll be fairly brief. There's just a couple of things I wanted to highlight. One of the most recent ones, you may have already seen some information on this through the Wellington Advertiser or through social media, in that the county is embarking on a roads master plan. So this is intending to look at, the needs for traffic requirements, intersection improvements, places where speed or other safety issues are of concern. This is it's a great time right now during the public engagement portion of the process to encourage people to get out and have their comments included in that master plan. And so that, if there's places that need some improvement, whether it be intersection improvements or roadway improvements or traffic volume needs, this is the time to start bringing those things forward. So I would encourage you to, you as councillors and any members of the public you think that could make a contribution to this, please encourage them to participate in that as well. The more participation we get, the better the result will be when the plan is complete. So also wanted to talk about, and it's in a very similar note, and this has been ongoing for a while, and I think we've mentioned it, maybe heard about it more than once, is the environmental assessment for the replacement of the 4 bridges on County Road 109 just east of Arthur. That process continues to be ongoing. So just a reminder to get any comments, or remind anyone who has comments to please get those put in for that environmental assessment process as well. And then I'll just talk briefly about its budget season, as we all know. And the county is also working on budget. The initial proposed budget at the county was anticipating about a 2.5% increase. County council asked staff and council to go back and look for ways to get that down to at 1.25% or below, recognizing the challenges that many of our taxpayers, residents, and businesses are facing during these challenging times, and to try to ease the burden as much as possible for them. Within that budget, of course, is one of the projects that affects us here at Wellington North directly, and that is, the budget's not yet passed, but one of the things included in that budget continues to be the shared garage facility in Arthur. And so we will be, once the budget is passed, I'm sure we'll be talking about that a bit more to see how that goes. The county is anticipating providing all the capital for that project, and then the space would be leased back to Wellington North at this point, where they would be buying the appropriate land looking after the development costs and the construction costs, and then collecting lease payments from us at Wellington North for the shared space in that facility. And I don't have a lot else really want to talk about, so I'd be happy to entertain any questions anybody has. Dan, go ahead.
Excuse me. Andy, I guess in regards to the master plan, the county master plan, is there anything that we or our staff should be commenting on from the municipality point of view, rather than maybe an individual perspective?
Well, certainly if there's anything our staff are aware of, where particularly I'm thinking of where county roads intersect with local roads, where the intersection may need some upgrading or those types of things, that would be something that would be very appropriate to include in those comments from a township perspective as well. Nothing stopping an individual making those comments, but certainly if we have intersections or things where things cross over, that would be appropriate to have some comments from the township as well.
Mm-hmm. So are our staff going to make those comments, I guess, in regards to that, or are those things that we should be addressing through them?
Well, if there's things that you're thinking of, Dan, certainly I think we should draw attention to it. There's commenting period open right now with for public commenting, but there's always opportunity throughout the entire process to submit written comments as well. So if there isn't something that's top of mind today but comes forward in the next weeks, we certainly can continue to put those things forward.
Okay.
Steve, go ahead.
Just a couple things, Andy, thanks. With regards to the shared facility, is that still planning to be built for 2021? So
the expectation is land acquisition would be completed in 2021 with and design, and construction completed in 2022.
Okay, that's good. And then with regards to the 4 bridges out Highway or County Road 109, are they going to have like a Zoom meeting or like a public kind of a Zoom meeting for commenting, or like when we were doing the wastewater treatment plant, we had maps of the locations up and all that. So are they kind of planning something?
Yeah, there is a requirement for what's called a public information center. You may remember that with the, with the display boards and those types of things. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work, in this virtual world we're using right now, but there is requirements for that. We're not to that stage yet, but something along those lines will be coming. I'm assuming it will be a virtual presentation with a commenting opportunity.
Similar to that?
Okay. Same thing on the roads master plan too. There will be more public information center as well for it. Okay. Anybody have any other questions this evening? Okay. Thank you. I guess the next thing is to move into our public meetings for the Committee of Adjustment and the public meeting for that subdivision. So I have a recommendation here that the Council of the Corporation of the, moved by Dan, seconded by Lisa, that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North recess the January 25th, 2021 regular meeting of Council for the purpose of holding a public meeting under the Planning Act for Keith Brubacher minor variance, and for John Welton Custom Home Building Limited, or owned and operated as Sunvale Homes, draft plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendments. All those in favor? That's carried. So we are in recess from the council meeting. So we'll just switch over to the Committee of Adjustment agenda. And before I call the meeting to order, I'll just go to you, Karen. Do you have people registered who want to speak in regard to this application?
Yes, I do. Keith Brubacher is here. I'm going to move him to a promote to panelist.
Okay.
I also have some people who I see Ron Davidson, Travis Burnside, and John Welton, who I know are here for the subdivision, but I'd like to run through the other people on the list just to see if they're here to speak to a matter.
Okay, please go ahead.
Brian and Donna, are you here to speak to a matter? You need to unmute yourself. Okay. Campbell, you're on mute. Are you here to speak to an issue?
No.
Thank you. Donna McFarland, are you here to speak to an issue? You're on mute. Okay. Lori Ann, you're on mute. Are you here to speak to an issue?
No.
Thank you. Michelle Brown, you're on mute. Are you here to speak to an issue?
No, I am not.
Thank you. Steve, you're on mute. Are you here to speak to an issue?
No, I'm not, Karen.
Thank you. Brian and Donna, are you here to speak to an issue?
No, we're just observing.
Thank you. Okay, I just got to get these people back out now, sorry.
That's okay. Part of the process we're learning how to work with.
Okay, that's everybody on the list. Mr. Brubacher, you are still on mute, so you might want to unmute yourself. And that's the entire list, Mayor Lennox.
Okay. So let's get started with the Committee of Adjustment then. I'll call the Committee of Adjustment meeting to order. And we'll go around the table and do the disclosure of pecuniary interest on items on this agenda this evening. I have none. Steve? You're muted, Steve.
None.
Okay, thank you. Sherry?
No.
Lisa?
No.
And Dan?
No.
Okay. Okay, so the first item we have is minutes from the previous meeting. So I've motion moved by Steve, seconded by Sherry, that the Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes of December 14th, 2020, application A09/20 be accepted and as presented. Any questions, comments on those minutes? All those in favor then? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to our application for this evening, application A01/21 for Keith Brubacher. The location of the subject property is described as Part Lot 12, Concession 5 South, Registered Plan 60R1193 Part 1, and is municipally known as 7508 Side Road 6 East. The property is approximately 4 hectares in size, and the location of the property is shown on the map in your agenda package. Purpose and effect of the application is to provide relief from section 6.1.5A of the zoning bylaw, which states no accessory building or accessory use shall be established on any lot or site until the main building has commenced construction. The applicants are proposing to construct a new accessory structure prior to the construction of a single detached dwelling. The applications have indicated the accessory structure will be used for personal and produce related growing equipment storage. Other variances may be considered where deemed appropriate. How was notice given for this public meeting?
Thank you. Notices were mailed to property owners within 60 meters of the subject property and as well to the applicable agencies. Signage was posted on the property on January 12th, 2021.
Okay, thank you. I see you're joining us. Michelle, are you doing the presentation for this one as well?
Yes, Mayor Lennox, I am.
Okay, so please take it away when you're ready.
Thank you. And so the comments were prepared by Matthew Dow in our office, And as noted in the description, the variance is to permit a storage garage before the construction of a main dwelling on the subject property. You'll note that in the report, the applicant also owns the abutting 1 acre residential property. And I guess at this point in time, the applicant's plan is to not construct a new single detached dwelling in this location. However, they would like to construct the garage ahead of the dwelling. You'll note in the air photo that's included in the report that the red rectangular indicates the proposed location of the structure. And in our review, we find that location would be appropriate to site a dwelling in front of or in the front of that structure, and that would be appropriate. So with respect to the minor variance itself, we have no concerns with the proposed minor variance. Consider the request minor and appropriate for the use of the lot. Happy to take any questions.
Okay. Thank you. Has any further correspondence been received with respect to this application?
Other than what is listed on the agenda, there has been no further correspondence received.
Okay. Thank you. So anyone wishing to be notified of the decision must submit a written request to the Secretary Treasurer. And with that, I'll open the floor for any questions or comments. Mr. Brubacher, did you want to speak to your application?
Good evening, Mayor Lennox. I don't really have a lot to say, but I do appreciate you being willing to look at this. I think that's all I have for now.
Okay. Thank you. You didn't have anyone else registered for this one, Karen? Is that
No,
what I understood?
that's correct.
Okay, thank you. So then I guess we'll just flip it over to the committee. Any questions or comments from committee?
None here.
I don't have any,
No.
Mayor.
Okay. So I guess I've got one, Michelle, and I'm going to point this at you. So just to make sure I understand this correctly, there's Mr. Brubacher owns 2 lots side by side, one with a residence currently on it and one where this proposed accessory structure is. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, Mayor Lennox, the smaller lot is where Mr. Brubacher owns currently, and there's a dwelling on that property there. And then this proposed garage or storage garage would be on the abutting farm parcel, 4 hectare farm parcel.
I see, okay. And it has no other structures on it, just this proposed accessory structure.
That's right, not to my knowledge. It's vacant right now, and then the intent would be in the future to put a dwelling on there, but at this point in time, it's their hope to put the accessory structure up first.
Okay. Any other questions from anybody? Okay, then it's time for the decision, and so I'll call the vote in a second here, and I'll read it out. That the minor variance applied for in application 801/21 for the property described as Part Lot 12, Concession 5 South, Registered Plan 60R1193, Part 1, and is municipally known as 7508 Side Road 6 East, to provide the following relief. Number 1, that the construction of an accessory structure ahead of construction of the main use be permitted, whereas the bylaw requires construction of the main use ahead of construction of an accessory structure. All those in favor? That's approved. So that application is approved. We'll now move to adjourning our Committee of Adjustment meeting. So we have a recommendation here moved by Lisa, seconded by Dan, that the Committee of Adjustment meeting of January 25th, 2021 be adjourned at 7:19 p.m. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We're adjourned from the Committee of Adjustment meeting. We'll move now to the public meeting for the proposed subdivision. And so do you have anyone to speak? You have some people to speak on this one, Karen, right?
Mr. Welton, Mr. Davidson, and Mr. Burnside, and they have all been promoted to panelists. You should be able to see them there now. They're all on mute.
Okay.
Just a reminder.
Okay, thank you. So let's get this meeting rolling then. We'll call the meeting to order at 7:20 p.m. and we'll go around the table again with the pecuniary interest question. And this is in regard to the public meeting agenda. I have none to declare. Dan?
No.
Lisa?
No.
Sherry?
No.
And Steve?
None.
Okay, thank you. The owner applicant. So before I get started, I just want to be clear about this for everyone and for anybody who's watching. My understanding is that this is a public meeting to serve the purposes for both the zoning bylaw amendments and for a proposal with regard to a plan of subdivision. So this will be considered a public meeting for both of those purposes. We are the decision-making authority. I know you guys probably think I'm a broken record, but I keep going over it. We are the decision-making authority with regard to the zoning bylaw. The county is the decision-making authority for the plan of subdivision. So, Karen, go ahead.
If I could just clarify, it is the public meeting for the zoning bylaw amendment, but there is no zoning bylaw being passed tonight. Right.
So this is just a public meeting. We're not dealing with the zoning bylaw itself at this time. Okay, with no further ado, the owner applicant in this case is John Welton Custom Home Building Limited. Location of the subject land, the land subject to the proposed draft plan of subdivision file number 23T 20203 and the proposed zoning amendment are legally described as part of park lots 10, 11, and 12, south of Princess Street, geographic town of Mount Forest, and part of park lots I, K, and L, McDonald Survey, and part of Division 1 of Lot 2, concessioned West Owen Sound Road, Arthur, geographic town of Mount Forest, Township of Wellington North. The subject property has a total area of 9.793 hectares. The purpose and effect of the application, the proposed zoning bylaw amendment will rezone the lands from future development zone to site-specific residential R2-XX zone to permit detached and semi-detached dwellings, to site-specific residential R3 zone to permit street townhouse dwellings, to residential R3 zone to permit cluster townhouses, to open space zone for a walkway, and to a natural environment zone for the land containing the watercourse. The amendment is required in order to facilitate the proposed draft plan of subdivision for 23T-20203. The applications for draft plan of subdivision and zone amendment will result in the creation of a mixed density residential development. Specifically, the overall proposal will create 58 single detached units, 30 semi-detached units, 36 townhouse units, and 15 unit cluster townhouse development block. An open space area and walkway are also proposed as part of the overall plan. The details of a proposed draft plan of subdivision, again 23T-20203, is as follows. And there's a table there. It includes, again, 58 detached units, 30 semi-detached, 36 street townhouse, 15 cluster townhouse block for a total of 139 units and 39.793 hectares. How was notice given for this public meeting?
Notices were mailed to property owners within 120 meters as well as to the applicable agencies. Signage was posted on the property on January 4th, 2021.
Okay, thank you. And Michelle, can you give us a rundown on this, please?
Thank you, Mayor Lennox. So the report in your agenda this evening provides preliminary planning comments for the previously noted applications, which include a review of relevant policies with respect to the plan of subdivision and the zoning bylaw amendment. I understand the applicant's planning consultant is here this evening to give a presentation on the development proposal, so I won't go into detail at this point in time. And I have noted as well, this is a statutory public meeting this evening. I did also want to point out, just a quick note with respect to parkland. My report advises that the township will need to advise on whether parkland in terms of a park itself or parkland dedication will be taken as part of the application. However, it's come to my understanding that there is a previous agreement in place between the township and the previous owner that addresses parkland dedication. And so what I'll do is follow up in a subsequent report with that detail, so the council can be aware of that. And just a further note, as the report states, we are in the review process. So we have received comments from some of our commenting agencies, but not yet all of them. So when we do report back, that will be once the final technical review has taken place, and then we are prepared to move forward with a recommendation. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mayor Lennox, and then I'm happy to answer questions now or after the presentation as well too.
Okay. Has any further correspondence been received in respect to this application?
Yes, in addition to what's listed on the agenda, we did receive from the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority. It was directed to the County of Wellington, so it was a copy to us from the SVCA. And I don't know if you want to speak to that, Michelle. I know you just said that these comments that weren't received in time, that you would address them in a further report. There are several conditions or things that they want to be dealt with. Did you want to talk to that, Michelle?
Through you, Mayor Lennox, just briefly, as council is likely aware that the process involves correspondence and review by all of our agencies and commenting bodies. And so these comments came in a little later than we might typically have. And they are comments that include some conditions and recommendations, and we do understand there will be continued review that will need to occur. You'll also note that we don't have comments yet in from the consulting engineer, so those comments from the Conservation Authority will likely be reviewed by the consulting engineer. So there is some technical review to continue to happen, and just as Mayor Lennox noted, this is the statutory public meeting. This is at the point in the process at which we hear from the public, we hear from council, and it's for us to present the applications to the public. So I just wanted to note for council that there will be follow-up on the technical review. And I know oftentimes we do have at this public meeting that detailed review. In this case, SVCA was outstanding, and there are a couple of others that are still outstanding too. So you will hear from us in greater detail in the future. And in all likelihood, some of those commenting agencies will have detailed conditions to include in the draft plan.
So that was a January 22nd meeting or letter directed to the county, copied to us. In addition, we received a September 25th letter from the SVCA, copied to us to Cobite Engineering. And just generally, in principle, SVCA staff find the proposed development acceptable, pending further input. And I'm not sure if the proponent wants to speak to that. Travis?
Just before we do that though,
yeah.
just a second. Is there any other correspondence been received?
No.
Other than that, Karen?
No.
Okay. Okay, Travis, didn't mean to cut you off. Just wanted to make sure we had all the other stuff taken care of.
No, that's okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here. So we got the letter from Conservation Authority. There's a few things with regards to just the limits of some of the zoning they want confirmed. So we will reach out with them and get that addressed, and we'll bring that forward at the future meeting. I guess the final results of our discussions with Saugeen Valley.
Okay. Thank you. So for anyone wishing notice of the decision, if you wish to be notified of the decision of the Corporation of the County of Wellington in respect to the proposed draft plan of subdivision, again 23T-20203, you must make a written request to the Director, Planning and Development Department, County of Wellington, 74 Woolwich Street, Guelph, Ontario, N1H3T9. And in regard to the zoning bylaw amendment, the bylaw for the zoning amendment will be considered at a future council meeting. If you wish to be notified of the decision with respect to the proposed Township of Wellington North zoning bylaw amendment, you must submit a written request to the development clerk, Township of Wellington North, 7490 Side Road 7 West, P.O. Box 125, Kenilworth, Ontario, NOG 2E0. So with that out of the way, I will open the floor for questions or comments. As the applicant, did any of you gentlemen wish to speak to this? So Ron, I see your hands up.
Yes,
go ahead.
sir. Thank you, Mayor Lennox and members of council and staff. I shall be brief. So my name is Ron Davidson. I'm a planning consultant. I have stood before your council on a couple of occasions in the past. Travis has already spoken. He is the obviously the consulting engineer in the project, and also on the line is Mr. Walton. I don't really plan on saying much. I don't think John Walton plans on saying anything unless you've got a question for him. And same with Travis. I think we're pretty much here just to answer questions, but I will say just a couple of things. This is a project that's been in the works for quite a while. There's a fair amount of pre-consultation or discussions with the county and the township and the Conservation Authority long before the applications were filed. There was a series of reports that were filed in support of the proposal, including an environmental impact study, a traffic study, functional servicing report, a stormwater management report, an archaeological assessment, and a planning report that I prepared. I have no intentions of going through any of those. I will say that, other than to say that with my own planning report, it did demonstrate that the proposal does conform with the official plan, is consistent with the provincial policy statement and the growth plan. That's other than that, I think just in general, it's a great project. I'm not just saying that because I'm working on it, but it's everything that the provincial government and the counties and the local governments want us to do, and that's urban developments in an urban area on full municipal services, providing a series of housing densities and residential dwelling types from single family dwellings to semis to townhouses. So it is everything that we're supposed to be doing nowadays, occurring right here in Mount Forest. Obviously, it's good for Mount Forest and for the townships as well. Growth like this, don't expect all the lots to be built in a year or two, but when they are developed, it's going to represent something really good, I believe, for the municipality. That's all I have to say, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Did you have anything further you wanted to add at this point, Travis?
I'll just kind of add on to what Ron said. Yeah, the subdivision will be on full municipal services, and we've had discussions with township staff and BM Ross with regards to capacities. And from our discussions, there's sufficient capacity for the sanitary sewer and the water system, and the stormwater will, the plan is to take it directly to the Saugeen River, so there'll be no impact on existing municipal storm sewers.
Okay, thank you. And well, I don't see your picture, Mr. Welton. I understand you're on the line. Did you have anything further you wanted to add? Okay, I'm going to take Ron's word for it that you didn't really want to speak, and we'll carry on to questions. If you do have something you want to add, I'd be happy to allow that as we go along. But I'll open the floor for. We have anybody from the public who want to participate in this, Karen?
I've gone through the list and they're identified everyone other than Tammy Pringle. I do not believe she wants to speak, and everyone else as an attendee did not indicate they wanted to speak.
Okay. I see your picture now, Mr. Welton. Did you want to have a word? Yeah, please go ahead. You're muted at the moment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council and staff. No, I don't have anything further to add, but I'm very pleased to see a cohesive and small council. It's been going very well. I'm impressed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I'll throw the floor open to members of the council for questions or comments. Steve, go ahead.
Just one with regards to the letter from Jessica McFarland from a township side of things. Are we putting sidewalks in on Martin and Cork? Because there are a lot of people that walk down those streets right now.
Okay, I'm not sure who I can direct that question to. Matt, I see your picture. Or
Yep. Thank you, Andy. Yeah, I would say Martin, we're going to be giving, or sorry, Cork will be giving consideration to sidewalks. Martin, I would say, is outside of the limits of this project, but yeah, I think Cork Street, I think Township would expect that the design will include considerations for sidewalks on Cork Street.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
Okay, other questions, comments from council? Dan, go ahead.
I guess to Travis. Travis, you were talking about stormwater management. So the stormwater is going to go directly to the Saugeen River. Is that kind of the issue? Is that what the issue's been with Saugeen, the holdup with them? Or is there going to be stormwater management lots or ponds in this development?
Thank you. So I guess the concern with Saugeen Valley is actually the existing storm outlet from Cork Street, Melissa, Princess, all that stormwater comes down and passes through the development site. There's just some concerns with where the zoning limits are with respects to that creek. And as for the stormwater itself, there will be a small pond that's mainly just to collect the overland flow and put it into a storm sewer. Saugeen Valley allows, when you're in close proximity to a major water course, such as this site, and have direct access, that you can discharge the stormwater without having to have a pond for quantity control. We will still be providing quality control.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions, comments from council? Steve, go ahead.
Sorry, I just have a quick one. I guess it could be for Ron or Mr. Wilton. You had said it's not going to be built in, like Rome's not built in a day either, and this won't be either. What are you thinking of a phase-in timeline?
Yeah, I'll have to let John answer that
one. We would want to move as quickly as we could. And so we would probably service the whole site at once, depending on market conditions. And so it's not likely to be, it would be great if there was a possibility of doing earth moving this year, but I can't see doing undergrounds and road building until perhaps 2022. But I appreciate the way you think.
Wow. No, thank you for that, John.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
No. Good.
Okay. I have a couple. First, I'm just going to go to you, Michelle. If you can just, my memory is good, but awfully short sometimes. Can you just refresh my memory on the target density that the county is looking for and how that compares to what's proposed here?
Yeah, so Mayor Lennox, the target density is 16 units per hectare, and that's what they do come in at, is just exactly there. And obviously this application itself has some larger blocks and some flexibility as well with that cluster block, but they do hit the density of the official plan.
Okay, thank you. So I guess my question is really, and we've had an application for subdivision in Arthur come forward recently with some somewhat similar setback variances from our zoning bylaw. And I know, and certainly on the front yard setback, one of the concerns that I had and would continue to have with the requested reduced setbacks is around snow storage. This year may not be the year to look at that, but some years we do have significant problem with snow storage on homes with even greater setbacks, especially if there's sidewalks involved. So I just am a little concerned about the reduced setbacks being requested for, and consequently, you know, if you change the setbacks on some of these lots, then the rear yard setback gets worse. Just a little concerned about that side of it. So I'm not sure if anyone, Ron, whether you want to comment on some of that, or Mr. Welton, or who.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to respond to that. I know our request is to not change the setback for the garage so that we still have the full driveway, but the house would be located just a little bit closer to the front lot line. Not to put Travis on the spot here, but maybe I'll put Travis on the spot, being the engineer in the room, and maybe he could answer that through you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thanks, Ron. Yeah, I guess with trying to meet the county density requirements, as well as having a sellable product that the market's demanding, you know, people still want large square foot homes, even if the lot's not really wide. So homes are getting deeper and skinnier. So we're just trying to allow for maximum flexibility in products that could be built, and just for people buying the lots, that gives them just more options how to lay their house out by having the availability of moving it a little closer to the road.
Okay. So as we move further down this process, maybe we can, and I'm not the technical review side of it, just if we could demonstrate that we have adequate room for snow storage on these properties, that would be a valuable asset to justify the reduced setback, in my opinion. Dan, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I guess when we recently talked about the development in Arthur, there was discussion in regards to the parkland dedication. We know that when there's, you know, large developments like this, they're usually young families with children, and it concerns me that it says in here a park block has not been proposed, but in a development like this, it concerns me that there isn't, and that there should be. So I think that's something that we need to encourage or make sure it's followed up on.
Okay, I think there is a prior arrangement made with that, and I'm going to go to Mike first, and then.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Lennox, Councillor Yake, your comments well heard, and I'm glad that John is on the call to hear that as well. There was an agreement that was entered into by the town of Mount Forest back in 1998 with the owners of the land at that point, basically waiving the parkland requirement. There was a lot of things happening at that time as it relates to transfer of ownership of particular lands that actually turned into where we have the Mount Forest Sports Complex now, and part of the concessions were not to require additional parklands. But I don't think it devalues the comment that this is a fairly large development, and you know, the idea of a parkette or something along those lines would serve that well. But there is an agreement that we're bound by and we're honoring. But certainly, I'm sure your comments are heard by the developer.
Okay, go ahead, Dan.
So, Mike, does that agreement stay in place with new ownership as we move forward?
It was written in terms that it would transfer, with the property.
Right. Okay. Well, whether it's there or not, I just want it to be said that I think parkland in a development of this size should be encouraged, even if our recreation facilities are not that far away. There still has to be green space for young families.
And I think there is an open space component to this. I'm not sure what the plans in that open space are exactly. And Ron, I know you had your hand up earlier. Did you want to weigh in on some of this?
Yeah, I can't really add much more than what Mike has to say, other than, yeah, it was known for the last several years that the parkland dedication matter had been taken care of, and when Mr. Walton bought the property from the previous landowner, I was part of those discussions, and it was a well-known fact that, you know, there would not be additional requirements made for him. That's about all I have to say.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? Okay, I'm not seeing too many more. Okay, yeah, I don't think, my main concern was around some of the setback reductions. So I think we've hit that out there. So did you have something else to add, Michelle? I see your picture here.
Nope. I'm good. Thanks, Alex.
Okay, thank you. With that, so again, just to go over this, the public meeting is for the plan of subdivision, which is the county's decision-making authority, as well as the zoning bylaw amendment, both of which the decision is not being made on these tonight. If anyone watching wants to make further comments, they can certainly submit those comments in writing at any time to the County of Wellington or to us at the Township regarding the zoning bylaw amendment. And the zoning bylaw amendment will be coming back to our council at a future date to actually pass it, probably after we get a bit more clarity on some of the details. And the county will be the decision-making authority with regard to the plan of subdivision. So with that, I think we're at the point of adjourning the public meeting on this matter for this evening. And so with that, I will suggest that, moved by Sherry, seconded by Steve, that the public meeting of January 25th, 2021 be adjourned at 7:47 p.m. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So we are adjourned from the public meeting, and we will go back to our regular council meeting. Thank you, Ron and Travis and John. So back to our regular council meeting. So moved by Dan, seconded by Lisa, that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North resume the January 25th, 2021 regular meeting of council at 7:47 p.m. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to adoption of the minutes of council and public meeting. So we have a recommendation here moved by Steve, seconded by Sherry, that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on January 11th, 2021 be adopted as circulated. Any questions or comments with regard to those minutes? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. I don't believe we have any business arising from the previous meeting. So we're on to our items for consideration this evening. So now is our opportunity to pull those out that we wish to have some discussion on. And I know that, where are we here? 7C, we need to pull out. There's been an error made in the report, and we'll just get that corrected for that. But open the floor for anything anybody would like to pull out for discussion. Steve, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like 6A and 8A, please.
Okay. So 6A is the Optimus's playground, and 8A is the Township of Larder Lake resolution. Is that right, Steve?
Hold on a minute. I might have that 8A wrong. Sorry. Let me just check quick.
Okay. We'll go around, and if anybody else have one they want to pull out, or one, more than one, let's do that while Steve double checks. Dan, go ahead.
7B.
Okay, that's the parking on Mount Forest Drive.
Yeah.
Okay. Steve, did you have a chance to review your?
Yeah, and sorry, no need for 8A, just 6A for me, thank you.
Okay. So far we've got 6A, 7B, and 7C. Any others? Okay. So last call for any others. So seeing no others, we'll adopt all the rest. So we have a motion moved by Lisa, seconded by Dan, that all items listed under items for consideration on the January 25th, 2021 council agenda, with the exception of those items identified for separate discussion, be approved and the recommendations therein be adopted. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So that brings us back to 6A. This is in regard to the award and design of the replacement of the Arthur Optimus Playground. So I'm going to suggest this one's moved by Sherry, seconded by Steve. And the recommendation is that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report Ops 2021-003, being a report on the award of the design and replacement of the Optimus Playground in Arthur. And further, that Council award the request for proposal RFP 2020-10 to Park and Play Design at a cost of $120,000 plus applicable taxes. Okay, with that said, I'll open the floor for any questions or comments. Steve?
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, I just wanted to thank Matt and Mandy and Tom for this report and the work that they did with the design of this. Excuse me, with this design. I know the Park and Play is the most expensive one on there, just by a couple $100, but just wanted to let everyone know that that design had so much more value, so many more I guess monkey bars and everything else for the kids to play on. And then a lot of the design went into very young children, middle-aged kids, and then up to about maybe 16 years of age. So it fully involves a great deal of age range for the kids in the area. And then it's under the AODA as well, which is accessible for people with disabilities. So it really is just a great complete package, and one that I know I think will be most welcome in Arthur.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Matt, I see you. Did you want to comment? Go ahead.
Yep. Yeah, just through you, Mayor Lennox, and thank you to Councillor McCabe, Chair of the Rec Committee. Yeah, I think we went through all the proposals, and I think this is going to be I think Park and Play has put forward a good proposal for the replacement of that existing equipment, and we're looking forward to working with the Rec Committee just to pick an ultimate design. But I think we have good options to pick through, so that's a good news story. So would appreciate Council's support and appreciate Councillor McCabe's support and Tom and Mandy's work in terms of reviewing the proposals and putting forward the recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Lisa.
Other than design, I'm just wondering whether there was anything else that, like I see they came ahead in number of points, but anything else that clearly put them ahead of the rest of the pack, ahead of, we'll say, open space.
Okay, Steve, did you want to tackle that?
Yeah, but I'll defer over to Matt and the rest of them. But I know when the Arthur Optimus splash pad went in, Open Space was the winner on that design, and they had a good design this year or for this proposal. But when I had to look at all the proposals that were submitted, it's just far and above a better design that Park and Play came in with, totally integrated with all the different ages, and really makes great use of the space that's going to be allotted for this playground. So over to you, Matt.
Okay, go ahead, Matt.
Yep, through you, Mayor Lennox. Yeah, I would kind of just echo what Councillor McCabe says as it relates to, I think the concept the Park and Play has put forward kind of puts the most equipment in the space that's that is able to, we feel is able to be put in that space, and it'll be a good fit. And I think the price range was maybe 116 to 120, so it wasn't a huge I guess difference as far as price that we were looking at. And I think that's how we came up with them as the recommended supplier.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? My own comment was when I looked at this first, I thought, boy, that's a pretty expensive playground. But then when I thought about it in the context of where this park is and the importance of it relative to our other recreation amenities, that's probably where we should be investing the money, because this is where it'll probably get the greatest use of all the park playground areas in Arthur, because of the proximity to the splash pad, the pool, and the recreation community center. So well, I was initially put off by the cost. When I think about it, this is where we probably need to be investing the money the most. So I think that's a great idea. Any other questions or comments? Okay, then I will call the motion for that. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. That moves us on to 7B. This is the report in regard to restricted parking on Mount Forest Drive. And I'll suggest that's moved by Dan, seconded by Lisa. And the recommendation is that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report CLK 2021-003, being a report on restricted parking on Mount Forest Drive. And further, the Council authorizes the Mayor and Clerk to sign the bylaw and restrict parking on Mount Forest Drive. With that, I'll open the floor for questions or comments. Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that this this issue has been acted on so quickly. I don't think I've ever seen as many vehicles, snowmobile trucks and trailers in the Mount Forest area as I did on that weekend. Not only was Mount Forest Drive filled, so was the high school parking lot, so was the local restaurant parking lot. So I'm glad to see that we're going to deal with this so quickly. And I guess once we've got this enforced, so it's going to be no parking at all, I assume. And once we have this in place, the police will be able to enforce this, I'm assuming. So all it'll take is a call from somebody, I guess, to address that issue. So yeah, I'm glad to see it being tackled so quickly with the letter coming from Vintex. It's sometimes the wheels of government turn awfully slow in regards to issues like this, but this is a good bylaw, and hopefully it'll relieve some of the congestion in the winter months. So.
Okay, Karen.
So this will permit the police to ticket them. Some of them may decide that that is a small price to pay for parking, but it's certainly the first step that we need to take to solve their problem. It really is a very real problem, for sure.
I'm going to go to Matt and then back to you, Dan, if that's okay.
Yep.
Yep. Thanks through you, Mayor Lennox. The only comment I would have is that if this was to pass tonight, then Public Works or Roads Department will work on signing that street, because that signing the street is another necessary component in order for the OPP to be able to enforce. But I don't really see that being being a long-term item, as far as that's something we'll be able to get done pretty quick.
Okay, Dan?
Just going back to Karen's point.
Oh.
You froze up on us, Dan.
Sorry. Just
Try again.
back to, still frozen?
No, you're good now.
I've lost my thought. Okay, back to Karen's point about no parking signs. You know, it might be a small price to pay for some of these people, but can we tow vehicles? Can we have more teeth in this bylaw that if this continues, that vehicles can be towed away?
So
rather than just putting up no parking signs and putting up, again, giving tickets out.
So I'll maybe try to address this, because this is an issue that came to the county as well, Dan. And well, we haven't had much of this problem in Wellington North. Other municipalities at the southern end of the county had a huge problem with this in the spring and summer, particularly trying to access, you know, rivers and conservation areas and those types of things. And so I got clarification from the OPP that if safety is a concern, once it's in a no parking area, they can initiate tow away immediately if it's at their discretion. So once the no parking signs are in place and the bylaws in place, they can ticket, and they also have the ability to tow those vehicles if necessary. I mean, we can take a further step and create a tow away zone if we wish, but I think that that power already exists, and I would probably prefer to leave it at the discretion of the OPP. I think the pressure on this issue has reduced even this week as opposed to a week ago, because more of the trails in Wellington County are now open. People aren't taking their snowmobiles to the edge of Grey County to access the open trails. And I'm hoping this is short-lived, but I too support doing what we can to alleviate the problem here. Go ahead, Dan.
With all.
Sorry, Dan, you froze up on us again.
Better?
Yep.
Okay. Again, with all due respect, you know, no parking signs I mean, we have them everywhere. And enforcement is the key. And, you know, if we have them behind Tim Hortons and cars parked there every day. So, you know, I think if you're going to put something in place, this is the time to make sure it's got all the teeth that it can have. So I just would try to make it stronger than just no parking. That's all.
Okay. Karen?
So if that is the direction of council, and I don't know if you want to vote on it or not, I still think to help them now, we need to pass the no parking bylaw tonight. And then if you want to make it a tow zone, even though the police have that authority, we can do it at the February 8th meeting, you know, and rescind this bylaw and make it a tow zone. But that would need to be a direction of council to staff.
Okay. So yeah, I would agree that given the circumstances, we should proceed with this tonight. But if we do want to take it to the next stage, we would need to carry it on just the way that Karen has outlined. So let's go around the table and see what everybody else is thinking in regard to this, if we can. Anyone want to volunteer to go first? Dan, go ahead.
I'm okay with that. I think that just to get it moving forward is as quickly as possible. We've decided to move quickly on the letter, so I think let's move forward with this. But again, I think it needs to have more teeth.
Okay.
I'm all right with it as well, Mayor Lennox.
Lisa, Sherry?
I'm okay. As it's already been stated, like the fact that we've been able to move so quickly on this, and I could go either way on, you know, if we need to put up different signage, but I know that I've had a few people come to me, and I had submitted a letter a while back about the parking at behind Tim Hortons as well. So I just think that we need to have it enforced, whichever way we go.
Okay. Lisa, did you have any thoughts that you'd like to share?
I'm okay with that. And I'm just wondering whether anyone has, you know, this is not the fault of the Snowmobile Club or anything like that, but whether anyone has reached out to them just to let them know and give them a heads up, and maybe they can, I don't know, put something on their website. Like, I know they have a designated parking spot, you know, up at the Spot restaurant, but I don't know whether they can help us out in any way.
Dan?
These aren't local people.
No.
Those snowmobiles and trucks and trailers that were there that weekend, there probably wasn't one local person. So it wouldn't hurt to encourage the Snowmobile Club to maybe pass that along, but you know, these are people that don't know any better.
Yeah, I think there may be other issues too from the police perspective in regard to the stay-at-home order with some of this as well. I've heard stories about some of it, but I don't know what the actual legality of it is. But certainly people have not been listening to the spirit of the stay-at-home order with their snowmobiles. Recognize snowmobile trails are open, and they were open in Grey County, but not in Wellington. There were a week or so, 2 weeks ago, when this was at its peak. And I agree with Councillor Yake that this is probably not the local people for the most part. So, Karen, you had your hand up, I think.
I think Councillor Hearn did too.
Okay.
That's okay. You can go ahead, Karen.
So I just want some clarity. Everybody went around and said, I'm okay with this. So you're okay just with this bylaw, or to pass this tonight and then bring a tow bylaw to the next meeting?
So, yeah, okay. I guess.
Sorry, I'm just not clear.
Okay, I think Dan's position is he would like to see a tow away bylaw immediately if possible.
Yep.
That's correct.
I personally am prepared to wait and see a little bit. Let's see what happens. But I'm prepared to go to that if we need to. I would say let's inform the OPP. We're going to have to inform the OPP that this issue exists, and we've got the new signage and bylaw in place, and see what happens a little bit. It'd be my position, but I don't know how other members of council feel. Like, I'm prepared to move to the tow away zone. I'm not sure that we need to rush to it.
Did I just get clarity?
Sorry, I'm fine either way. I know February 8th might be too late for this, but yeah, I can support Dan with the tow away, or wait for some advice from the OPP.
Okay.
That's not giving me any clarity.
I think we need, and I don't like doing this, but we need, in order for this to move forward, we need a majority of council. So we can't pick the middle road. Either we're going to ask staff to come back with the tow away portion, or we're not. We need that clarity. That's what we're looking for from a staff perspective.
So can we amend it to include the tow away?
No, I would suggest we just do an additional motion giving direction to staff. So,
so right now, sorry. Right now, I was going to go out on.
Go ahead, Karen.
I just want to say, right now, Councillor Yake is to bring a tow bylaw to the next one. The mayor is wait and see. Steve is both. That's not
maybe we need to do this by resolution.
Okay.
So let's. I'm going to go out on a limb and suggest that Dan is prepared to move that we go to a tow-away as soon as possible. Do we have a seconder for that? Steve? Any discussion on that?
What was the question, Andy? You froze up here.
Sorry, I went out on a limb on your behalf, Dan, and suggested that you would moving to a tow-away zone as soon as possible. Okay. And Steve has agreed to second that.
Okay, thank you.
I hope I didn't go out too far out on a limb, Dan. Lisa, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I think it would be proactive, I think, to go with Dan's motion. I mean, you'd mentioned that trails are open here, but I just wanted to point out that a lot of areas, especially, well, North Bay, Perry Sound, the health unit has closed them due to COVID-19. So people have a limited number of places to snowmobile. But I just wanted to point out, I have been out on my snowmobile and most people are very respectful.
Okay. Any further discussion? So we have a motion on the floor to direct staff to proceed with a tow-away zone on Mount Forest Drive as soon as possible. Any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. That gives you clarity, Karen. Dan, go ahead.
Just one last comment in regards to that. I mean, if it happens on one street, they just move to the next street, because London Road also that same weekend, there was a number of vehicles parked on the side of London Road. So, I mean, that may become an issue as well, but we'll deal with this one first and see what happens.
Yeah, I think we really need to focus on where this is creating a safety issue.
Yeah.
Matt, did you want to weigh in?
Yep. Thanks through you, Mayor Lennox. I would just say that from a staff standpoint, then, like, we'll wait until the tow bylaw goes through in February to sign things, or?
If that happens, Matt, just through you, your worship, then they will continue to park there for 2 more weeks without any enforcement. Mm-hmm. Just make the signs Velcro, Matt, so we can put them up tomorrow and Velcro them the next day.
I guess through you, Mayor Lennox, then the no parking bylaw on Mount Forest Drive has passed then, because we can proceed.
It will later in the meeting. We're just dealing with the report right now. The bylaw will be dealt with a little later.
Okay. Okay.
Sherry?
So if we're going to pass this in 2 weeks, I also think that we should reach out to those other businesses that have access into their businesses off of Mount Forest Drive. Just also to give them a heads up as to what we're going to be dealing with, because that it may or may not affect them as well.
Okay. So what are you thinking? Just a notice letter?
Just a notice saying that this is what we're considering. That, you know, we've received a letter from their neighbor Vintex, and there are issues with parking, which I'm sure that they're already aware of, but I just don't want, because we don't know what happens at those other businesses, how this may impact them.
Okay. So could we send a letter to the adjacent businesses, just informing them of what's happened and what's happening?
Certainly we can, yes.
Okay. 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 Dan, do you have something further on this, Dan, or are we ready to move on?
No, I just wanted to, I agree with what Councillor Burke is saying. I mean, both Vintex, No Frills, and Canadian Tire right? They all have trucks that bring in deliveries. So as long as we're not going to affect them in a detrimental way, I mean, I think that I think we have to notify them and maybe, I don't know. We already know what Vintex thinks, but anyway, I think it's good public relations to let them know.
Through you, Your Worship, we certainly will. Did you notice that weekend, though, Dan, that there were trailers and snowmobile trailers and vehicles parked in No Frills and Canadian Tire as well?
They were all over the high school parking lot. That road and the parking lot were full that weekend. I think Dan's frozen again, so I wanted to jump in.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, well, this may be something we have to adjust as we go ahead. But we're trying to respond to the situation that's there right now. Okay, next item we have is 7C. This is in regard to the council committee appointments. And we're going to say that's moved by Steve, seconded by Sherry. And the recommendation is that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive for information CLK 2021-004, being report on council committee appointments. And before I open the floor for questions or comments, I know Karen has a revision that needed, or an oversight that needs to be corrected. So please go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, and I'm not, Dan, are you froze? It looks like I want to apologize for Councillor Yake. I omitted him off the Wellington North Power as being a Wellington North Power appointee. And I'm sorry for that oversight. So we will amend those and post them tomorrow. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay. Any other questions or comments with regard to those appointments, such as things that you would like to change, get on to, get off of, alter for the remainder of our term? Now's a good time to discuss it. We don't have to finalize this tonight. We could, if people want to change some things, we could put it over for the next meeting, I think, without any problem. So, Mike, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Lennox, really just the same type of comment that you made in terms of this is an opportunity if members of council wanted to make some changes. It's been a couple of years and we're at the beginning of the year, and the ebbs and flows as it relates to committees tend to change over time, and things have drastically changed in this, the pandemic as well, in terms of frequency of meetings, type of meetings, all of those things. So that was part of the reason bringing it forward. I think the other thing that we want to acknowledge is the number of committees. There's still a significant number of them, and the majority of them are made up of volunteers. And we've talked a lot about the volunteers, but this again highlights the value that they bring to the community through these type of activities. And it's also a reflection of a lot of our staff that support these committees, whether it's our economic development officer at BIAs and chambers, Karen and her team supporting as it relates to agendas and minutes. So I think we should acknowledge that as well at the same time. But also, really, I think going back to your point, Mayor Lennox, the opportunity to look at the committees to make sure that there's an equitable share amongst the members of council is important, so that everybody feels like they're getting a fair shake and are at the committees that they want to be at. I think maybe Councillor McCabe wanted to maybe update on his appointment and maybe an enhanced appointment at Saugeen Valley with the rest of the group as well.
Okay. Steve, did you want to take a run at that?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks for that. Yeah, we had our kind of our first annual SVCA meeting last week. And I guess I'll be staying on as a councillor on this board, as I was elected to their second vice chair for the authority. So I mentioned to Mike and Mayor Lennox that we're kind of the smallest part of the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, but it's kind of nice that we're the only Wellington County, well, with the exception of Minto and Wellington North together, that we can have our voice raised on the board as well. So, or with the executive as well. So, thanks for that, Mike. It's a year term and should be an interesting one as we get into 2021. And,
so should we check with you a year from now, Steve, to see whether you still want to be on the SVCA board?
Yeah, I'm just going to say I don't think my hair can get any grayer, but I did want to say as well that Maureen Couture is now the chair. Dan Jerzak, who was the chair, is now the member at large. He served for 2 years, and then Barbara Dobreen, our neighbor in Southgate, is the first chair.
Okay, congratulations, Steve.
Thanks.
Yes, congratulations.
Dan.
Just to Steve, yeah, congratulations. We'll have continued good voice there, and you know what happens when you start as the first vice chair. It's only up from there.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Maybe next year I'll quit. Thank you,
though. Karen?
Yeah, and back to my mea culpa with Councillor Yake. If anyone else sees that they are on or not on a committee that they are listed on or not on, would you please reach out to me so that we can the final listing of who's who and what's what.
Okay.
Thank you.
I know that some of my meetings and commitments out and about have certainly reduced over the last year given the pandemic and all its challenges. But I would like to comment that I know Councillor Hearn has been very busy throughout the pandemic with the Chambers of Commerce and the BIAs. So thank you, Lisa, for doing that. I know that's taken up quite a bit of your time. So when some of the rest of us have maybe been getting a little easier. So does anybody have any other committees they'd like to discuss, change seats on, those types of things?
I'm good, thank you, Andy.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay. So any other discussion on this report then?
No,
okay.
I'm good.
Then we'll call the motion. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And I think that brings us to the end of our items for consideration. So that brings us down to notice of motion. Do we have any, excuse me. Do we have any notice of motion this evening? Sherry, go ahead.
Yes, so back in the fall, the Wellington Advertiser ran a story covering our public budget presentation for 2021, which highlighted the expenditure for the rehabilitation of the standpipe, or better known, the water tower in Mount Forest. Since this story, I've had many conversations and have received multiple communications regarding the fate of the high, healthy, happy motto that greets you on the water tower as you arrive to town coming from the south. I know some other members of council have also received some of these emails. So tonight, my notice of motion is simple, stating, be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Wellington North requests that staff include the high, healthy, happy motto, the altitude above sea level, along with the community name Mount Forest in any painting or repainting of the water tower here in Mount Forest.
Okay. Thanks, Sherry. So we'll include that in our agenda for the next meeting, and we can discuss that and come to a decision then, so that all those people who have been expressing their concerns can have an answer as to the direction we're going. So that's great. Karen?
Councillor Burke, could you email that? Do you have that prepared? Is that written down?
Yes.
Could you
I'll send
email
that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other notices of motion this evening?
No.
Okay. So with that, we'll move on to community group meeting program report. Anybody have anything they'd like to report tonight? Lisa?
I always have something, it seems. And I just wanted to comment that you thanked me for being on the chamber and the BIA, etc. I think that they've helped me as much through this pandemic as I've helped them. I work at home and I look forward to the meetings. Anyway, so my first report is the Arthur BIA. We did have a meeting last week with BM Ross. So it was our first chance to take a look at the sidewalk extension plans. We're calling it a sidewalk extension now, not a choker. Okay, just to keep everyone on the same page going forward. So it's our first chance to take a look at the blueprints and talk about a few things with BM Ross. Now that everyone's had some time to digest things, we're going to come back and have another meeting next week to go over that again. As well, the Arthur Chamber and the Arthur BIA, in an effort to keep everybody all on the same page and working together really well, is going to have a joint meeting coming up. So I'm looking forward to that. And the Mount Forest Chamber, as you know, I listed off directors at the last meeting, and of course we have a new president, largely a new board, lots of enthusiasm. So going forward, and I'm not sure when, they might have already had it, a strategic planning session was going to occur as well. Krista, having her background in HR, was doing a team building exercise. So great hopes for the Mount Forest Chamber of Commerce and finding a direction and a path moving forward with this new energetic team. So that's it for my report.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. Anybody else have anything they'd like to discuss this evening? Dan, go ahead.
I don't know if Steve, you were going to mention it, but last week we had a physician recruitment meeting here in Mount Forest. As with everything else, it's been a trying year in trying to communicate with people and meet with possible new physicians. But I think I left the meeting feeling that the recruitment committee here continues to still do a good job at bringing in possible new recruits. And they do have a couple of physicians that are just kind of in their schooling, finishing up some of their schooling. And so it looks like they're going to be, I think in the future, in the near future, I think we're going to be okay. But it's obviously something that needs to continue on all the time with doctors getting ready to retire and so on. So anyway, I don't know if you had anything to add to that, Steve.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I was going to mention the meeting as well. Yeah, there's 4 that are currently working up at Louise Marshall and Claire Stewart, and unfortunately 2 are going to be moving closer to their family, which is further out in Eastern Ontario. But we have 2 that are, fingers crossed, pretty local to Wellington North, and hoping that they're going to stay with us. And all indications, like Dan had said, they have to finish up some schooling and take some different courses. But Dr. John Rayoum is pretty positive that we might be able to nab them. And in Arthur, they continue to be busy, and pretty good line on one of the doctors helping Paul Jones out that they may stay on as well, but I don't want to jinx it. So
okay, thank you, Dan and Steve, with regard to that. Karen, did you have something
Yes, it's another omission on my part, Dan. You're not listed on the physician recruitment list either, so we'll put that in the minutes and amend that. Sorry.
Go ahead, Dan.
Karen, I guess I don't think I'm on the physician recruitment as a board member. I don't know if that needs to be from a municipality.
Okay, thank you.
Steve's the municipal rep, and I'm the board rep.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Thank you.
Okay. Steve, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, if you didn't mind, I know we didn't raise during our meeting. I know we didn't raise the fire department excuse me report, but I did want to give kudos to Chief Chris and Marco with the recruitment of 8 new firefighters to Arthur and Mount Forest. So I just wanted that to be out publicly. So good job on that.
Okay. Thank you. Any other reports this evening? Okay. I don't think we have anything further, so that moves us on to bylaws. We have 3 bylaws this evening. One to deal with the memorandums of understanding for the Mount Forest Chamber and District Chamber of Commerce, one for the Arthur and District Chamber of Commerce, and of course the parking bylaw that we talked about earlier. So we have a recommendation here moved by Sherry, seconded by Steve, that bylaws number 006-21, 007-21, and 008-21 be read a first, second, and third time and enacted. Any discussion on those at all? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And that brings us to our confirming bylaw, moved by Dan, seconded by Lisa, that bylaw number 009-21 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North at its regular meeting held on January 25th, 2021, be read a first, second, and third time and enacted. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And just before we get to adjournment, I'll just draw your attention again to the meetings and notices. There's the AWE webinar series, Entrepreneurial Skills and Business Leadership for Rural Women, Lunchtime Learning Mondays, January 25th to March 29th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. There's 10 of those in total, running weekly on Mondays. The Mount Forest Aquatics Ad Hoc Advisory Committee is meeting tomorrow, January 26th, 2021 at 7 p.m. Rec Parks and Leisure Committee on February 2nd at 8:30 a.m. The Business Succession Planning Webinar Series Lunchtime Learning Wednesdays from February 2nd to March 2nd from 12 to 1:30 p.m. There's 5 of those in total. And of course, our next council meeting is Monday, February 8th, and the one following is Monday, February 22nd. So unless anybody has any other meetings they would like to highlight, we'll move on to adjournments. Steve, go ahead.
I'm sorry if I didn't hear you. You're kind of freezing up on me, but yeah, I was just going to mention that we have a Rec and Culture Committee meeting on February 2nd.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Mike?
Through you, Mayor Lennox, just for council's awareness, the mayor and I meet tomorrow with, we have a deputation with the Minister of Transportation tomorrow afternoon as part of the Roma conference, and the discussion will be centered around Connecting Link funding and hopefully future funding around the Connecting Link program. So just wanted to share that with council.
Yeah, it would be nice to come home with an announcement, wouldn't it, Mike?
Good luck.
I just want to say, I bought a new car on the weekend and I want that road fixed, man. Terrible.
Okay, so we'll move on to adjournment. Moved by Steve, seconded by Sherry, that the regular council meeting of January 25th, 2021 be adjourned at 8:34 p.m. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We're officially adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Again.
Have a good evening.